What's up? We're back. It's Ball or Nothing. Oh! Joined with me, as always, is the one and only, and I mean one and only, Edward Dunstan. Just the couple tonight. No, Jasper. He's getting ready to come meet you soon in Germany. Where is he meeting you?
He is meeting us in Italia. We're going to be meeting in the land of the White Lotus, and we'll be discussing different, sporting ventures in the world of Italy. So, yeah.
Can't imagine you be talking too much Hawthorn Hawks in.
Maybe.
Although it could be a good game this week.
Maybe if they have to get forced to move from Tassie when the new Tassie team comes in, they could start playing some of their games in Italy just as a little exhibition for the locals.
I did see on Twitter someone posted, I think it was Rudy who works at Triple M, that the Fitzroy Lions, before their merger, they'd lost something like 70 games and won, I think, like 11 or 12. And North Melbourne, as it stands right now, has lost 70 games and has won 11. And there's one draw in there. So
it is awful.
Yeah, it's not a great record to have.
Jeez. Well, Hawthorn's not there yet. I think someone was comparing West Coast to Fitzroy of 96 because they just seem completely uncompetitive. I will admit, I have not seen a great deal of West Coast, but I have heard that they are pretty bad. So, yeah.
I feel bad for them. I've only watched a little bit of them because I like watching Oscar Allen. He's like sort of a bright star amongst the team and Tim Kelly. But outside of that, there's not much to get excited about. There's a lot of players. It's just like, who is this person? I don't think I've seen them play before.
Well, and that's the thing. But the other side of it is they still got all these guys who their name, like they sound good, like Dom Sheed and Nick Nat and Luke Shuey and Jack Darling, but they're getting hammered, absolutely hammered every week. It's nuts.
Well, they have a very young team. Well, what we'll do this show, let's do like a quick recap of the previous round, just gone.
Yeah.
And then we'll lead into Sir Douglass Nicholls this round, because as I was saying off air, there's a lot of exciting games. I would even go so far as to say that every game I think will at least be competitive. I don't think there'll be too many blowouts this week. Unlike last week had the largest scoring margin differential in something like 50 years.
Wow, holy moly.
So
there was a few shellackings, yeah.
Yeah. So it's even the last 2 weeks of footy have just been like somewhat uncompetitive.
They have been very much filler.
The Cats against the Tigers last Friday night didn't help. But what did stand out to me, and I'm not sure if you caught this, Ed, but Geelong fielded. It was the first time in 77 straight games that Geelong was the younger team, the younger side fielded.
That is amazing. Like, absolutely amazing. I mean, I guess, wasn't in the grand final, they had an average age of like 29 or something. Like just
something like that. They were on
phenomenal.
Friday night, they were 26 years and 286 days to Richmond's 26 years and 313 days. So only just. If Trent Cotchin wasn't playing or Jack Riewoldt was out, it probably would have kept the streak alive. But no Cats fans that I spoke to seemed too concerned about the loss.
Yeah, so you said that that 9 players or so, or like half your team who were the key players aside from Patrick Dangerfield? Who were the key outs for Geelong?
Oh, I'd have to go back and bring up the list. So Brad Close was suspended.
Yes,
Stengel still has he's out with his wrist. Stanley was out with an eye fracture. Tui didn't play. I think it was because of a hamstring injury. Cam Guthrie's still not playing. And we did in this match, we're about to lose Ollie Henry. He was not part of this. He did play, but he has, unfortunately, a testicle problem that he sustained on Friday night. Which is, no one she wants.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of who are the other players. Yeah, Jack Henry's still gone. And Menegol is still out as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
So
a few
yeah,
rounds.
a fair chunk of the team. And then of course, yeah,
Um,
Dangerfield.
so long story short, is Richmond back?
Well, that's been the talk of the town, and
Mm,
in this part of the world,
yeah.
they looked really good. Uh,
Mm,
I actually had a kind of a hot take that I want to run by you. So
yeah.
the ladder as it stands now, the top eight. I
Yeah.
think this is it. I think this is the top eight, and the next 14 rounds of football, or 15 rather, will,
Bit superfluous, yeah.
yeah, kind of all
Um,
be for nothing.
Quite possibly. I think the only thing there that looks like maybe like a little shaky, I'd say, is either I reckon the Saints, like they look good, but I
Mm,
reckon they could fall away again, possibly. And then I think Adelaide looks good, but I think all of their most impressive wins have come in Adelaide, and I reckon they could still make it. But I reckon teams like maybe Essendon has a super easy draw in the second half of the year.
mm, that they're coming up to.
And then other teams like Gold Coast, even Richmond or Freo. I think you're right for the most part though. I reckon that could well be. Uh, I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. Maybe positions on the ladder um, might go up and down, but it does seem like that kind of, these are the teams in the top eight are very much the best eight teams in the competition right now. So
I think so. I mean, look
yeah,
at look at their last two losses, the Crows. So they
mm,
lost to Collingwood
yeah,
in Adelaide, and they lost by only a point
yeah,
in that come from behind victory. And then they lost
mm,
2 weeks ago to the Cats, and that was in Geelong, which everyone knows is hard to win. Like, I think that
yeah,
they're looking really,
hard to
really
win. Yeah,
strong. But like, to the reason I bring it up is because if any team was to jump into the eight, Richmond's looking good. And even just last weekend,
mm,
if you have a look at the teams that won on the
yeah,
weekend, it was Richmond, Freo, and the Suns. And they're all sort of starting to make this sort of push forward with Bombers and
yeah,
Carlton. Like, I think it's
yeah.
really it's tight.
I agree.
Some key wins. So this is
I
why,
think
yeah, go.
yeah, but I think like you said, I reckon probably the top six spots or so. Like maybe Geelong could get in the top six instead of St Kilda, but I reckon all the
Mm.
rest is like that. That's probably going to be it. So I don't know. Yeah, it could be. Who knows? Like we're only what is it? 9 games in. I think last year at this point, there was St Kilda and Carlton, and maybe one other team in the eight that ended up dropping out. But I feel like St Kilda last year looked more shaky or
Mm.
shakier,
Well, this is the
and
point where they started
Carlton,
to descend.
yeah, I think Carlton, they do look pretty average at the moment, but I feel like they have enough time to turn it around. So obviously, I know where you stand on Carlton, but
I was going to say average. I think average is an
yeah,
understatement.
yeah,
Look at St Kilda's wins in the last 5 weeks. So they've had two wins. One was to North Melbourne. They won by
mm,
30 points and they held them to
mm,
34 points, which is great, but they only
mm,
scored 64 points. And then the other win was to the Blues, which,
mm,
again, you know what I think of the Blues.
yeah,
And then they've been beaten by Port Adelaide, and that was at Eddie Marvel.
mm,
They lost to St Kilda. Sorry, they lost to Collingwood, and then they lost to the
mm,
Crows. So yeah, when they're
mm.
coming up against the best, I think they're struggling now. They're starting to struggle.
Yeah, and I guess it's that thing of like if as long as they keep beating the teams that are around them and lower, then yeah, they'll definitely make the eight. But I reckon, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go because they were in great form in the first 5 rounds, and it's still good. Like, but they just got thumped by the Crows on the weekend, and I wonder if that's like a sign of maybe a slight downturn in form for a few rounds.
Yeah, you know where I sit on the Blues, but where do you sit on the Bombers?
Look,
I did not watch the game on Saturday night because I was
yeah, okay,
watching.
so I
There's two
did.
two great games.
Long story short, with Essendon and Brisbane was that Essendon actually played one of their best halves of football, I reckon, this season in the first half. They held Brisbane to 2 goals, and they kicked like 4 or 5 themselves. And then basically, so during the game, we had like our back line was, I think, a guy in his 3rd game as a key back on Joe Danaher, and we had who else? We had Brandon Zerk Thatcher, who's maybe 21, and he's like perennially undersized, and he's really maybe our 3rd or 4th in line as first preference key back. And eventually Joe Danaher got on top and kicked, I think, 6 goals for the match. So basically the difference was we just did not have. Yeah, Joe Danaher did, yeah. And we just didn't have the cattle in the back line. And we're just missing so much of our forward line as well. We're missing like Peter Wright, and like Harry Jones and a few others that just kind of like basically our midfield, aside from Darcy Parish, is looking really good. It's competitive every game. And I think even in this game, like even though it was 40 points in the end, almost doubled our score, I'd say our structure looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I just think it's the same deal as the last years where we just start to lose key players that we just can't lose at the wrong time. And I worry a little bit about the Bombers going forward, because there's players out in really key positions for us. Like all of our first choice key position players are out. And it leaves it just, I don't know, you just get.
I thought you were looking all right. You seem to you're out Peter Wright, James Stewart,
Jordan Ridley,
Will Setterfield is still TBC.
Will Setterfield's in, but what's his name? Will Setterfield's in. Jake Kelly, Jordan Ridley, Jaden Laverde, Peter Wright.
I've got
Harry Jones.
Darcy Parish is on the injury list. 5 weeks.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge loss.
Nick Cox, Zach Reed, all of our key position players are out. So we basically have a very small forward line and a very small back line. And I just don't, it's so hard to win games with virtually no key position players. So we've got Sam Wiedemann.
Mason Redmond's playing well.
He's good. He's just he's playing amazing, but he's like 187 centimeters. He's a mid-sized back. He's good. And Kyle Langford having his absolute best season for the Bombers. But again, he's like a mid-sized forward.
Yeah, some of your goal scorers like Stringer, Langford, and then Jai Menzies, who scored on the weekend as well.
So look, I think Bombers from here, they're going to be interesting, but I think they will probably stay where they are or maybe go a few spots lower by the end of the season.
Yeah. That sounds good. And then they've got their matchup this weekend. They'll be playing, where are we?
Bloody Tigers.
Oh, there they are. Yeah, so Saturday night Tigers at the MCG. Oh, of course, it's Dreamtime at the G. What am I talking about? Who are they playing?
Yeah.
That's going to be a good game. It's just like, I wish you had Darcy Parish playing.
Yeah.
I think if both teams were healthy, it'd be a really competitive game.
It would be, but if you're an Essendon supporter, you know that we have not beaten Richmond in, I think, almost over 10 years. So
really,
haven't beaten them since, I think, 2013. So, okay. I don't have any confidence going into this, but the usual guy that absolutely screws us up, Shane Edwards, doesn't play anymore. So that'll be good.
Last time you guys played each other, Tigers put up 21-15, 141 to 75. 141, that's a very high score.
It is, yeah.
With 36 shots at goal. And then time before that, they won by 32. And then the time before that, they put up 123 points.
Yeah.
So
we haven't even been close in a game against Richmond at the Dreamtime game, especially in, I'd say, like 8 years.
Having said that, the Richmond have been very dominant over the last
of course,
several years. So I feel like, this might. I mean, you've kind of caught Richmond at the wrong time. You never want to catch them at the back end of the season,
right?
Yeah.
I think Richmond will win. I think it'll be more competitive. I reckon Richmond would win by like 3 goals or something, or 4 goals.
It would seem as if, like I was saying, without Darcy Parish, I'm not sure how you guys can do it. Plus, with Dustin Martin is looking really good at the moment. Jack Riewoldt is looking good. Yeah. Even Trent Cotchin has kind of stepped up. It's sort of like Tigers have got the band back together. Their pressure against Geelong was intense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So terrible
Tigers
timing.
Are back. I know. That's okay.
All right. How about this? What about we'll get into your rules of the world now, and then we'll jump into Sir Douglass Nicholls round to finish off. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. Okay. So this week, rules of the world has moved beyond the game to something that maybe eats at the heart of every true fan of our game. It's booing. You've all heard about it. You've all heard it at the game. It hurts the players. It hurts our brands, AFL. Hurts our cherished umpires. Hurts us all in different ways. Rules and ideas, I think, is the way we go about this. They need to be put in place to curb this abhorrent behavior. But unlike some, I don't think we can ban booing. I don't believe in bans. So I've come up with a few meaningful solutions. So some of you may know on the pod that I am currently in Europe. I was in the UK. I attended a soccer match or football match, as the locals like to call it, between Crystal Palace and Bournemouth. And they loved singing. They loved chanting stuff. They loved doing all that. And I think that the AFL has become too, we go along to the game. We get too focused on the actual game itself. The soccer leagues of Europe, there's all that singing and stuff like that. What if we encouraged our fans to sing more? So what about the classics like Up There Kazali, The Holy Grail? That's what I like about football. Your team song, the cheer squad, could receive like financial encouragement to sing throughout the game and maybe get a bit more focus from the rest of the crowd in a more musical mood rather than focusing too much on winning or losing. So my solution is pay the cheer squad to sing the whole game and see if that distracts people. What do you reckon?
This is one of your better ideas. I wish Jasper was here to talk about it as well, because my mind is going in a whole bunch of different directions here.
Yeah.
For one, I love the sort of like new digital age of getting the crowd more involved in the game as it happens. And I can see this as being sort of one of the ways where the crowd can get more involved. I'm thinking like college football in the US, where the college students have a brass band, and it's sort of like 100-piece band that comes down and starts getting, they can actually start belting out some tunes that way.
Exactly. You could have. I was at the English football on the weekend. They had drummers drumming the whole game and big old, like war chants and stuff like that. So instead of less booing, we just want more everything else. So
So why don't we have drummers? Are they not allowed?
I think some teams do. I have been at a game, but all they did was just basically bang a drum, like, dung, dung, dung. And it was like, instead of like the English one had like basically an upbeat, like,
a whole percussion section.
Oh, dude, it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. I genuinely think that, if we had a bit more focus on all the other stuff, it'd be an interesting atmosphere change, because it is interesting with AFL, because like so much of the attention is just on the game, like on the moment to moment, because it is like, it's so fast paced compared to most other sports. But I don't know, could change.
So I love this idea. Just back to the booing. And this is another direction I was thinking of. So, so in what world would we allow booing or unsportsmanlike crowd attendance results in some sort of penalty for the supporter base. I'm trying to think.
Okay, so
if you boo, if there's an unwarranted boo, it can result in a free kick to the other team.
Oh, that's good. That's much more practical than my third solution to this problem was this is kind of in the same vein as that, is I call it the high school classroom solution. Where every time someone boos, a piercing white noise echoes throughout the stadium. So if one person slips up, the entire crowd is punished. So then you get the rest of the crowd actively enforcing not booing. But I think a free kick could be a much more practical approach. What about if the booing reached a certain decibel level? A free kick is paid to the other team.
I like that. One thing that we didn't have in classrooms when that would happen, though, is the mixture of alcohol infused spectators.
Exactly. Maybe that's a change for the classroom that should be.
Because do you remember how frustrating it was when that one person who was just a jerk anyway would slip up and then everyone would suffer for it?
Yes, exactly. So I reckon the free kick's where it's at. Jasper would love this. I think a decibel level meter for the booing, and if the booing got to a certain point, free kick to the other team. So it's like your team would be telling you to shush if you're like.
But that's what I'm saying. This is what I was saying about crowd interaction at the start. Is that there could be a game plan for the teams, a game plan for the backs, the mids, and the forwards, and then there would be like a special team of coaches who would game plan for the crowds, and they'd get on Twitter and talk about it before.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
So this actually happened in I think it was the NFL last playoff season. So Miami went to Buffalo to play in Buffalo, and it had been forecast for a blizzard, but they stayed in Buffalo anyway, or it was just on the tail end of it. And during the game, the crowd just kept throwing snowballs at the whole like Miami coaching staff on the side and all the players. So as the players tried to catch the ball, the spectators were throwing snowballs.
And it got to the
point. Wow. It got to the point where the refs had to tell them to stop. They didn't stop. And then I'm pretty sure at one point the refs they threatened to penalize the Bills if they kept throwing snowballs.
Okay.
I can't remember if it actually happened or not, but then it worked. They stopped.
Well,
or sort of. They stopped a little bit.
Well, you truly involve the crowd.
So I'm into this. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. So my last one actually comes from the mental health field. Now I know that sounds boring, but so counselor in training I am, and one thing that I stumbled across. Now, your listeners may or may not be familiar with something like this, but it's called an emotions wheel. And essentially, it's like, let's say you have a strong feeling come on, and you have a wheel that you can point to that says like anger and name your feelings and stuff like that. So you educate yourself about emotions. So we all know that football is a very emotional game. So what about an emotions wheel? And then on the outer bit of the wheel, I'll obviously, share this to our future socials. You have a pre-prepared list of appropriate ways that supporters can either show support or disdain that are attached to their emotions. So these little cards would be given out before the game, and basically there'd be like you can name your feeling, and then there'd be this extension of something the person could either say or do to express that feeling or thought in a way that does not hurt others. Like an umpire doesn't pay hold on the ball, they could be like anger. And then for something they could say, they could be, I believe that decision was incorrect. Or if they wanted to do something, they could yell into their football scarf. So, you're training people to express their emotions in ways that don't hurt others. So that was my other one.
I've got a cool idea for this. How about so everyone has this remote who's at the stadium, and when they're upset about a decision the umpire has made, everyone can press a red button, And the more people who
Yep.
press red buttons, the more the stadium lights up red in anger. Or when their team kicks a goal, everyone can press green, and then the stadium starts to light up green because everyone's so people can
so it's
in
kind
the
of like
moment give real time feedback.
Yeah, and it's and also it doesn't necessarily mean that they're like saying awful things to an umpire or a player. It's just like that's just how I'm feeling. I'm feeling red. Red's angry. That's okay. Yeah, I like it.
That's it. I think we've solved another week. I'm really into those ideas. I think Jasper's going to be gutted he missed out on those.
He will love them. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
1 second. Sorry. We're good. All right. Let's have a look at this week. So Douglass Nicholls round 10. And I think every single game on the slate is exciting. We're going to start with Port Flagellade playing at Adelaide Oval against the D's. Should be a hot game.
Yeah.
North Melbourne and the Swans are playing each other. Swans are favourite to win by a lot, but I think that North Melbourne, you might have missed, there was a bit of commentary around this week around their lack of effort. And I think that they might actually, that sort of causes them to lift a lot to make it competitive. And Sydney's been very uncompetitive. They can't seem to buy a win.
No.
I'll just summarize and we'll go back at it again. Dogs play the Crows. I think that's going to be an awesome game. Dogs are favored to win that by 4.5 points, but the Crows are always competitive. But the Dogs are one of the best defenses in the league at the moment. They're keeping teams to around sort of 60 to 70 points from scoring. Cats, the Geelong are going to Perth to play Freo, which I think with all of our injuries at the moment will be an interesting game. The night games will be the Q Clash. The Lions are playing the Suns, and then Dreamtime at the G. Right. Yeah, it's weird that they had Q Clash and Dreamtime at the G on at the same time. I would have thought so. That could be a good game.
Yes.
Go.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I guess it's like one of the few opportunities for the Suns to play on like Saturday night, and maybe in Queensland they'll try and get a few viewers that way. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. Hawks in Tasmania are playing the Eagles, the Harley Reid Cup.
Yeah.
Harley Reid Bowl. The Blues are playing the Pies, vintage retro rivalry. And then we finish with the Giants and the Saints, which Giants have been looking really good lately and Saints have been looking really bad lately. So again, find me a bad game in that slate.
Stadium.
Yep.
Yes, I completely agree with you. I think this is the first really good looking week of football in a few weeks. So I'm excited. I have no idea how many of these. Yeah, go.
I was just going to say, let's go through and try and see if we can tip these, see if we have any differences.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because I think Port Flagellade can beat the D's in Adelaide.
I feel like you're saying that like it's unlikely. I feel like
well, they're underdogs. Underdogs.
Yeah. I reckon. You know what? I feel like we're on something. Let's just play. Have a devil's advocate here, and I'll just go the opposite and tell you why Melbourne is going to win this game.
Okay.
Melbourne is going to win this game because they've got the best defense in the league. Because Stephen May has been underperforming. He's ready for a good performance.
He was good last week.
Yeah. And Port Adelaide has beaten some okay teams, but they have not beaten a team like Melbourne. And aside from Brisbane, but I think that Melbourne will get over the top here by just virtue of their being a legitimate premiership contender, unlike Port Adelaide. So there you go.
I think you make a good case for the D's, and the D's are still my favorite team in the league. No, I'd have to say the Pies at this point, but I still think the D's are a very strong team when fully healthy.
Yeah. So
the hard thing about Port Adelaide is they don't seem to have any one player that stands out amongst the rest of them. Like if you look at, so I'm looking at every player in the league and I'm looking at their disposals on average per week.
Yeah.
And every team seems to have a player in there, but you have to go down to Zach Butters averaging 25 disposals a game. That leads the
that's it.
Port Adelaide. Wow. That's it. And he's the 37th ranked player. So, that's their midfield is made up of what? Butters, Rosie, and
Wines,
Jason Horne-Francis. And even though none of them are spectacular, they seem to be just putting it all together and linking up really, really well. It'll be, I think, Petrarca will play. He had an ankle injury at the end of last game, but he will play. So he's a little bit hobbled, but I think it'll be close.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing to add to that is that they don't have anyone in the top 24 players in the goal kicking either. Like they don't have an obvious.
That would be Charlie Dixon, right?
No, not even Charlie. So their top goal kicker is Jeremy Finlayson, and he's got
14. Really? Wow, he's playing that well.
And then Charlie Dixon's on 13, so he's got a bit more.
They will be without Junior Rioli. He got a suspension. Okay. Orazio Fantasia's still out with a quad. Xavier Dersma's still out. He's still out for another 6 to 8 weeks. Todd Marshall has a concussion. He's not playing. Okay, hang on. That changes things. Now, without Junior Rioli and Todd Marshall on the forward line, and Charlie Dixon has a quad injury, but I think he will still play. Man, that's tough. I should have probably also said at the top, both teams are going to be using their traditional custodian land names. So these will be Nam and Port Adelaide will be Yatapulti. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Yeah, so, okay, that kind of changes things because the people that the D's are without. So Petrarca will play. Petty. So they lost Harrison Petty, who has kicked a few goals on the weekend as well. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. Sparrow has a suspension. He's out. But that's sort of it. So not too much missing from the D side.
I reckon D's are absolutely warming up for a premiership tilt.
I think so as well. So that'll be second versus fourth. I think that's going to be a really, really good way to kick off the round and kick off the weekend. So then Saturday, midday, North Melbourne and the Swans. I don't think we need to spend too much time on it, but I think this has trap game to me. Like, I can't keep betting underdogs, but North Melbourne, like their backs are against the wall. But I guess so are the Swans. Like they are as well.
Underdog should be your nickname from now. You just get a sniff about a team that's got like bad odds, and you're like, I got to go for them.
I know. Yeah, look, North Melbourne's just been so uncompetitive in every single game, and the Swans absolutely have to start winning games after they lost to Freo on the weekend. Before that, they lost to the Pies. They lost to the Giants by 1 point, which they should have won, and they got pummeled by the Cats. So, yeah, they have to win this. I'm going the Swans.
Okay, I'm going North Melbourne because Clarko has been weaving his magic. Yes, North Melbourne has been a bit out of form, but Larky's going to come out, kick 6 goals against an undermanned Sydney backline, and Cunnington's going to come back, give North Melbourne the experience they need in the midfield. And the backline has had some troubles, but they're going to click this week. And the structure that Clarko has been trying to introduce, that's why they've been leaking goals. They've been trying to change their game plan. Is it's going to work this week. They're playing at home, and Buddy is horribly out of form, and Sydney is horribly out of form. So I am tipping the Kangaroos. So that's my.
That is fair. And I was reading your lock of the week, Jesus. I was reading that Buddy was playing sick or with an upset stomach.
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah.
So North Melbourne's going to be without Luke Davies-Uniacke. Does that change your mind?
It's a huge out.
It is a huge out. No, also, and Lockie Young has a concussion. He's going to miss it as well. There's a heap of other players, but they're not really anything special that I've ever really come across.
Most of the list. Yeah.
Yeah. Swans will be without Callum Mills. He's out with a calf 4 to 6 weeks. Dean Rampy's still out. Those look like the big ones. Joel Amarty's still out 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring. So, yeah, a few for the Swans.
Yeah.
Okay, we probably spent too much time on that one. Next one, let's go Dogs Crows. Dogs are
Oh, that's gonna be a good
favorite.
game.
It's going to be a really good game.
Yeah.
Dogs are favorite by 7.5 points by 2 kicks. Ooh.
I will, no offense to the
Give me the
people of Ballarat,
Crows.
but it is a shame that this is being played in Ballarat because that ground turns up some of the worst games in terms of it gets so windy there, and it's like it just turns otherwise very skillful games into like kicking for goal is a nightmare seemingly in Ballarat. So um I
I don't know if you've
I
seen the
have no
weather as well.
idea.
It
Yeah.
is getting bitterly cold here now as well. It's going to be
Oh, really?
10 degrees in Ballarat on Saturday and
Oh,
raining.
10 in Ballarat feels like 2. So yeah, this is going to be two really good teams playing in pretty awful conditions, and I reckon the Bulldogs' experience probably gets them a win.
Having said that, though, cold weather doesn't actually impact results too much,
Really?
or as much as you would think. Yeah, from what I've seen
Yeah.
statistically, you would think it would, but it doesn't. So I'm going to go the Crows.
Yeah. Okay. Done.
We can't
Let's
we
well,
can't settle on a team.
no. I say we go opposite every single one. So I think this is a good.
This
We've
is
got our
good.
bases covered now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dockers
Um.
Cats.
Well, hang on. So I just want to, since I feel
Yeah.
compelled to state my case now, but I think that
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Go for it.
The Crows are just playing such amazing football at the moment. They're going to be without Tom Duday in the back line. That's a
Mm,
huge loss.
yeah.
And Riley Thilthorpe has a knee injury, but he doesn't always play anyway.
Mm,
But I think the Crows are in form. If it's not
mm,
Tex kicking goals, it's Fogarty kicking goals. If it's not Fogarty, it's Rankin kicking goals.
yeah.
They sort of seem to be just sort of tying it all together. Yeah, no, they're such a high-powered offense, and if they can get their defense right, I think they're good. It'll be interesting, like I was saying before, because the Dogs are a really good defense at the moment. They might be one of the best in the league. Be interesting to see how they stop Adelaide.
Yeah.
Okay, Geelong's going
Yes.
to Perth. Fremantle, also I should say the Dockers will also be using their traditional custodian
Yes.
land name of Walia. Walia.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get that right. Sorry.
Mm.
So Matt Taberner is still out. But other than that, Dockers don't really have many injuries.
No, they're one of the ones that have been so interesting because they haven't had injuries. It's just been
And they've still
form,
been bad.
and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, and so they could well come good. Like they could find form in the fact that they won the last 2 games, I think, and uh, you know, a win over Geelong that'll get your confidence up. Like
Mm.
it's an Optus Stadium, WA. Like I'm going Freo. I reckon Freo will win.
And it's definitely gettable at the moment. I think what's happening for Freo at the moment is they're starting to score as well. If you look at, I mean,
Yeah,
okay, so they beat the Swans, but they put up 103 points. That's very un-Freo like, is to get triple
yeah,
digit scores. They put up 117 against the Hawks,
yeah.
100 against the Suns
Oh wow. So
several
yeah,
weeks
they've got a
ago.
bit of form. Yeah.
They've got a bit of form, and I think it's because they're putting together. So I don't know if you've been watching too much of their forward line, but Jai
I
Amos,
miss. Yeah.
Amos, yeah, I want to
Yeah.
say, has sort of started to really come on strong. I think he's only like 20 years old, so he's doing very
Yeah. Okay.
well. Luke Jackson has started, he was kind of like a hotly contested recruit, but he's starting to take form. And Josh Tracy, have you watched much Josh Tracy? Because I had not. Super tall
No, but he's a key
forward.
forward, I
Yeah.
think.
Him with
Yeah.
Lockie
Okay.
Schultz, and Lockie Schultz is a very small forward, but they're sort of starting to get these. They've been
Mm.
missing tall people up front, and I think that they're starting to get them now.
Mm.
And because of this, they're actually
Yeah.
starting to score.
Yeah. I think their list is good as a whole anyway, and I think they probably will. They could well end up being one of those teams that you know rockets in as the Saints or Adelaide or someone like that falls out of the 8. So it'll be interesting to see their second half of the year.
So Geelong's 9.5-point favourites. Who have you got?
I'm going Freo. I reckon Freo will get them in WA. And with Geelong's injuries and that. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I was just about to mention Geelong's injuries because even though the list is extensive, they're all now extremely short term. So, Bose we lost the other weekend, but he's short term. Dangerfield probably won't play this week, but we should get him back soon. DeConing could come back, which would be great for our defense because we've been getting heavily scored on. Jack Henry might also be back. Ollie Henry will miss. Menegola will miss. Gary Rowan could come back. Stanley, probably not, but Stengel could come back this weekend. So we've got a couple of people who are making their way back in the lineup. And I can't see Guthrie anywhere here. So does that mean he's playing?
I think he must be available then, yeah.
All right, if you're going to go Freo, I'm going to go Geelong. I was going to go Freo.
Yeah, done.
But I think
Geelong's also a great team, and they had a bad week last week, but they could come back and just knock Freo out of the park. So
yeah, I just don't recognize Geelong as much of a bounce back team. If how some teams have a bad week and they go, okay, well we've got to lift our game. I'm talking about the Sydney Swans, they're going to have to do that this week. I don't always find Cats do that though. Okay. Q Clash.
I'm going for an upset here. Gold Coast is going to win their first Q Clash in probably 5 years or something.
That would be amazing.
I'm going for the amazing result rather than anything logical. So yeah.
Look, the Suns, they've been fairly spectacular of late. And look, they beat the Eagles. So nothing to cry home about. But Matt Rowell against the Eagles put up 29 disposals, 6 clearances, and 17 tackles.
Yeah, he's Mr. Football. He eats grass and he loves football. Doesn't he have a big collection of footies in his room or something? He's
potentially awesome. In his journal.
Matt Rowell.
The Suns.
He's literally got like 50 or 100 footballs at his house or something that are on show. So yeah, he's a total football weirdo.
The Suns put up their highest score of a quarter since 2017.
Wow, that's good.
And they're doing this without Tuke Miller as well. Is the wild thing.
Yeah, because is he out for the year?
Was it an ACL? I thought it was not an ACL.
Okay. That'd be good. I would love the Suns to finally just have one good year. So this is an aspirational one. Brisbane's a good team. They're really I don't think they have a horribly weak area of the ground. Maybe the midfield, but even they've got Lachie Neale as well. He's a big hero. So and Harris Andrews is in all Australian form.
Will Ashcroft's playing out of his mind. Yeah. Zorko's back. The only player
but I'm doing it. Yeah.
the only player the Lions are without is Daniel Rich. Other than that, they're completely healthy.
Yeah, crazy. They're alongside Melbourne. They're going to go deep, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm starting to believe as well. Suns will also be without Lockie Weller still. I've got the Lions. I got to go Lions on that one.
Yeah. All right, Dons v Richmond.
I just want to see the most recent Q clashes from the past. So Lions won by 17, Lions won by 52, and Lions won by 49. Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I bet you will be. Yeah.
Okay, Dreamtime of the G.
Yeah, Dreamtime of the G. Oh, so yeah. God, my logical supporter brain says Essendon are not going to win this game. But then, part of me is just look, we've got a few champions in our team this week and that are playing well, Langford and McGrath. McGrath, I haven't seen an Essendon player do the kind of shutdown job on a player in years. McGrath made Charlie Cameron a complete non-event in the last game. He did not do anything, and every single one-on-one, Andrew McGrath beat him. And
Really? Did he?
yeah, every
I thought
single
you were
one.
joking. I didn't realize that I
No,
was dead set
he
serious. Okay.
seriously,
So
like
he's
they
having a
beat
good
us.
season.
Their forward line, I think, had something like 70 entries, and Charlie Cameron didn't kick a goal and had like 4 disposals. It was just, and he got near the ball heaps of times. Andrew McGrath just beat him every single time. So yeah, um, I don't know how, but no, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. Richmond is going to win this game, and I reckon they'll win it relatively comfortably. So
They're only 7.5 point favorites. So it is a bit
yeah,
closer than you would think. The Richmond
yeah,
injury list is long. They've lost Jacob Hopper recently.
mm,
Ipkiss is still out. Lynch will be out for a very long time still.
mm,
Morris Rioli has a hamstring injury. Soldo is out 4 to 6 weeks. Tarrant is out indefinitely with his hip injury still.
mm.
There's one that I missed. Oh, Nankervis. Nankervis is a test, so he might play. He might not.
Yeah. He always plays well against the Bombers. So
Mm.
I think the only thing that's going away is that Tom Lynch is not playing, and he kills us every single time. So uh yeah, that is a big plus for the Bombers. But otherwise,
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, you know what has to happen for us to win this game? Draper has to, like, Draper and Phillips has to have to play a game like they did against Melbourne and just dominate.
Mm.
And Stringer has to play like he has the last 3 weeks and get a ton of disposals and kick 4 goals. And somehow our backline has to restrict Richmond to like 70 points. And I reckon we're a chance.
Here's what I'll say.
Yeah, go
If
for it.
if the Bombers had Darcy Parish playing, I would tip the
Mm,
Bombers to win. But
yeah, okay.
I think he really moves the line that much. Where the
Yeah,
Tigers as
yeah,
well, they're really in form. I'm gonna go Tigers.
yeah, yeah, fair. All right.
Okay, quickly the Harley Reid Bowl.
Last few, yeah. Harley Reid Bowl. Hawks win this. West Coast suck, and
Yeah,
Hawthorn's playing at UTAS. There's no reason I can't tip West Coast, not even as a devil's advocate tip. They're not good. And I hope they stay terrible for a while.
yeah, and there's nothing like even though the Hawks have been really bad, they haven't shown any signs that they've been uncompetitive. They still
Mm,
show signs of competitiveness, even though it might only be for a quarter in a game. They
yeah.
they are able to put like you look at last weekend against the D's.
Mm,
They didn't score a goal in the first half from memory, or was
mm,
it one goal or something like that? And then
something like that, yeah.
they came out in the third quarter and they scored 5 unanswered goals. So like it's all
Mm,
there. They just kind of got to put
yeah.
together for a complete game. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Hawks I think win it quite comfortably.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah, I reckon.
Hawks are 23.5 point favorites, 24 point favorites.
All this
Wow.
being said, I feel like Hawks are one of the teams that like could be vulnerable because West Coast still have a bunch of experienced midfielders there. Like
Yeah, they still got
they
Tim
could
Kelly.
actually they could actually turn up for a game and play well and it be competitive. So if I was Jasper, I would be feeling real nervous because West Coast like they should lose and lose by a lot, but they could win. So yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see.
they have had some players come back, but they've still like they've lost Jeremy McGovern
Yeah.
recently. Luke Shuey, I thought
Mm,
he came back, but maybe he's gone again.
mm,
Cripps is out. Yeah, man, their injury list is horrendous.
yeah.
All right, the old rivalry, Blues Pies. I think that this one will be fairly uncompetitive.
You reckon? Oh
Oh,
no, don't
actually,
Carlton.
but like I think Blues do show up for these kinds of games.
I reckon the Blues will show up. I reckon this will be. You know what? I think the Blues will get revenge. I reckon
No.
I reckon Patrick Cripps plays his best game of the season. Charlie Curnow,
You cannot tip
you
the
know,
Blues.
no, I will because here's how it's going to happen. Charlie Curnow is going to kick 5. Harry Mackay is going to play up the ground, centre half forward, and just be marking everything. And the Blues midfield is better than Collingwood's. Dacos is going to have an off game, and Carlton is going to win this game. Bam, Pablo and Liam, friends of the show.
They're
Say
going to be
thank you. This
coming
is
for
how.
me.
Yeah, yeah, they will. All right, what's your case for Collingwood?
So in favor of the Blues, they're a very healthy team, which maybe that's a case for, but it could also be a case against. If they're so healthy, why aren't they winning games?
Very good point. Yeah.
My case for Collingwood, there's not really much to say about them. Other than they are completely on fire at the moment. Even against the Giants, who have looked good. Look, I think the Giants are as good as the Blues, and the Pies beat them by 65 points.
It's a solid argument.
Yeah, I think they because they're built on so much speed and power, and there's a lot of talent in there as well. As much as like I hate to admit it, and there's plenty of Collingwood players that I hate. There's also a bunch that I like, and I like they're not really showing any signs of weakness. Even with their injuries, they still. I mean, they're only really at the moment missing McStay, Lipinski, and obviously Jeremy Howe's out, Darcy Cameron. So like, but they're not like the upper tier. And I think, like the Dacos brothers, they thrive in these sort of like big rivalry games as well. And the other cool thing about the Pies that I like is, like every time the opposition tries to go after the Dacos brothers, the Pies players are always there to support them. So I think their spirit's unbreakable at the moment.
They're such an annoyingly feel-good team, aren't they?
Annoyingly feel good.
Yeah. Okay, last game.
Saints, Giants. I think that this will be like the least spectacular game, even though it's actually the closest in the betting odds of 4 points for the Saints.
I'll play devil's advocate on that and say this is going to go down to the wire. I think that, assuming Toby Green is back, I'm not entirely sure whether he's on the injury list or not, but
he is a test, so he should be back.
Okay, I reckon if Toby Green plays, Giants win this by a goal, and there's something controversial happens in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, and I reckon this is going to be close because I reckon Giants have been a solid team, not good or great, but solid. And St Kilda has been so-so the last week or two. So,
here's a couple of things that might work for the Saints, though. So I don't know if you saw, but Max King will play his first game this year.
Yeah.
Huge in for them. Tim Membry is out with a concussion. I don't think he'll play. But Jack Steele might be coming back as well.
Okay. That's pretty cool too.
Yeah, there's a few, and same with Jade Gresham. He also might play as well. So there's some big names of the Saints who are coming back. Not that that's injuries have stopped them.
Yeah. An exciting round of football.
That's it. I think I'll tip the Saints as much as I hate it. I think it's going to be an awesome round of football. And we didn't even get time to talk about the jerseys, but some of them are looking absolutely amazing. I think they're all looking good.
I will have to have a look. Yeah.
Look at the Saints one. The Saints one, I think, is my favorite one.
All right, I will. We need socials, Mr. Roberts. We need an Instagram account to share some.
Hey man, I'm on. I'm there.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we need a ball or nothing account. We should get it going. All right, awesome.
All right, cool. That's going to do it for the show. Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week. Next week, I'm going to be in Bali. You guys will be in Italy, I believe. So it's going to be an international show.
Maybe, yeah. It will be, won't it? Yeah.
Yeah. For the first time. Hopefully it holds up.
Awesome. Okay.
I did enjoy the rest of your week and your holiday. Yeah, ball.